There we go. We are live, guys. Discord link in description. All of the great MURKradio sponsors are also linked down there in the description.
Hello, hello.
What up, Justin? You're rolling out on Savile.
Might not have a bunch of input, but I'll sit here and listen.
Hey,
I'll try and make I feel it's appropriate.
Hey, it's true crime in chat, so we have a whole lot in store in terms of news footage. So hopefully we'll be good.
I'm just sitting here looking and laying out all the stuff I have and trying to figure out prices for everything for the fair on Saturday.
Oh, right on. Hello, Elson. I'm just gearing up, getting ready to roll. Pretty sure we've got all the links together. I want to give Deb a minute. See if Deb.
Oh, is Deb gonna be able to make it?
I hope in the Discord at least. If not, I'm just glad. I want Deb around. Oh, we definitely said True Crime Erica. Hello. Welcome back to MURKradio, guys. True Crime and Chat time. We're finally rolling out the Jimmy Savile episode. And today we're just going to expound and elaborate and talk about Jimmy Savile. His crimes, who he was as a person. We're going to get into it today. So, got Justin with me so far. Feel free to hop in the Discord, anybody who wants to chime in. Deb, feel free to pop in. I know I'm probably rolling late on your schedule. For you guys out there in the UK, this might be a late night series. I don't know the time. I didn't check the time differential. But today, again, we're talking about Jimmy Savile, born the youngest of 7 in 1926. He spoke with a northern accent, and I've been told that is endearing to the British population. He was a very successful, very popular radio DJ and TV personality. And when I say he was a habitual predator, I feel like that's an understatement, and I feel like there could be stronger words for what he was. because he's a pretty despicable person. Let's talk about his early life real fast. When he was a teenager, go hop right to his teenage years because that's where I feel like we can really start building a character profile on Jimmy Savile. So in World War II, coal mines started enlisting Bevan boys. Bevan boys are conscripted workers who were children. It was child labor functionally, as far as I can tell, uh, with a cute little name on it. And I can't help but think that some of the monster that he became had to have been formed in those coal mines. He was known for going he would go into work in a suit, a young man showing up to work in a coal mine in a suit, and he would leave the coal mine, nothing on his suit, nothing on his nice suit, sometimes a white suit. And it's shortly after that he says that he built a list of things that he liked to do.
Turn this down. How do I turn this down? Just
And he wanted to.
it's the same thing. It's just
Oh, hello, Graph.
I should pop up in his. There it is. There it is, right there.
Here. It's when he built a list that he started really defining the role of a disc jockey. He started playing records in clubs, popular records. He started doing other quirky things. He started dyeing his hair a different color every week. His first actual DJ gig is with Radio Luxembourg. And his job has always been pop. What's popular? Let's see. He was at Radio Luxembourg from 1958 to 1968. I want to note right here that the first of his allegations that I've been able to read was from 1956. I'm not sure what capacity he was exposed to underage girls at the time, but he was there. And again, we're talking the 60s, we're talking popular entertainment. This man was in the room with the Beatles. This man was on television. Hello, Debbie. You made it. Feel free to hop in the Discord here. Graph, I muted you just because it was getting a little crazy in the background there. Hop on in here, guys. Hop on in. In 1968, he joined Radio 1, where he presented Savile's Travels, a weekly program broadcast on Sundays in which he traveled around the UK talking to members of the public. From 1969 to 1973, he fronted Speakeasy, a discussion program for teenagers. Notice here, by 1969, he is specifically gearing his target demographic to be teenagers. Now, that's a red flag if you have a known history of predation, which he did. But you have a culture of what sheepishly cowardly people at best here. So again, I can't stress enough that he was being predacious within these systems. As we go through his career, this is also a timeline of how he was getting access to children. On Radio 1, he presented the Sunday lunchtime show, Jimmy Savile's Old Record Club, playing chart top 10s from years gone by. It was the first show to feature old charts, and Savile used a point system in an imaginary quiz with the audience to guess the names of the songs and artists. It began in 1973 as the Double Top 10 Show and ended in 1987 as the Triple Top 10 Show. When he left Radio 1 after 19 years, he presented the Vintage Chart Show, playing top 10s from 1957 to 1987. On the BBC World Service from March 1987 until October 1989, from March 1989 to August 1997, He broadcasts on various stations from around the UK, mostly taking the gold format, such as the West Midlands, Extra AM, and the Classic Gold Network in Yorkshire, where he revived his radio shows. In 1994, satirist Chris Morris gave a fake obituary on BBC Radio 1 saying that Savile had collapsed and died, which allegedly drew threats of legal action from Savile and forced an apology from Morris. On the 25th of October 2005 and January 1st, 2007, he presented shows on the Real Radio Network. The Christmas 2005 show counted down the festive top 10s and 10, 20, 30 years previously, while the New Year's 2007 show, also taken by Century Radio following the acquisition of GMG, featured Savile recounting anecdotes from his past and playing associated records, mostly from the 60s and some from the 70s. So, I want to point out here, somebody as a parody released a Jimmy Savile, fake obituary, and it upset him. There's ego here. There's already narcissism. When we just read through his career and the cliff notes attached to it, we already have certain red flags for what I would assume is a very narcissistic person, very ego driven, and that makes sense for his career path, right? He's in front of a camera. He's in this case, we were just talking about his radio career. He's in front of a microphone a lot. Let's see here. Let's check back up with the chat. Hey, no worries, Graph. No worries, Graph. Let's see. Let's move to his television career real fast, because this is where, I'm sure Deb will relate more than anybody on this, where he was a face on television. He was a face in your living room. That's important. That's important to note, particularly when you live on that island. Savile's first television role was as a presenter of Kind Tease Television. It was a music program, Young at Heart, which aired from May 1960. Although the show was broadcast in black and white, Savile dyed his hair a different color every week. Again, we're having these. He's aware of his image now. He's entered television. He was one of the rare radio DJs that could actually make it from radio to TV. It's more than just the voice, which again, he spoke with a northern accent, which is very endearing for British people. I would imagine that if you get your news from a northern accent, you believe it. Erica, again, red flag with these, he's dyeing his hair. He's really, he says he's discovered the power of odd. And with the power of odd, you can do almost anything. You can go into any room. You can schmooze with just about anybody. Next week, we're going to talk about John Wayne Gacy, who discovered the power of odd in his own way. He discovered the liberating nature of being a clown in a social environment. And Jimmy Savile is following much the same path with his ego and the presentation of himself. He very much wants to be able to do whatever he wants. He wants to seem absolutely mad, like he could do anything at any moment. And these are major red flags, as Erica says here in the chat, On New Year's Day 1964, he presented the first edition of the BBC Music Chart television program Top of the Pops from a television studio in a converted church in Dickinson Road, Rusholme, Manchester. So again, Manchester. You have the Manchesterian accent, which if you've ever watched the UK version of Shameless, in my opinion, that is a very endearing series because of their accents. There's something about just the Manchesterian a northern accent. It's great. Jameson's here. Hello, Jameson. It's great to see you. I'm not sure where Arianthe is, but she's more than welcome to pop in at any time. Any of you guys, if you want to pop in the Discord. It's True Crime and Chat, baby. Let's see here. On the 30th of July 2006, he co-hosted the final weekly edition, ending it with the words, "It's number one, it's still top of the pops," before turning off the studio lights after the closing credits. When interviewed by the BBC on the 20th of November 2008 and asked about the revival of Top of the Pops for a Christmas comeback, he said he would welcome a cameo role in the program. Kitty cat. Cat just rushing the. He's been on one today. So again, out of nowhere, probably unprompted, I'd accept a cameo role. Again, we have little things, little red flags for his ego and who he views himself as. In the early 1960s, Savile co-hosted with Pete Murray the televised New Musical Express Poll Winners concert held annually at the Empire Pool in Wembley, with acts such as the Beatles, Cliff Richards and the Shadows, Joe Brown and the Broovers, The Who, Brovers? I don't know. Never heard of Joe Brown and the Brovers. And many others, etc. On the 31st of December 1969, he hosted a BBC/ZDF co-production, Pop Go the 60s, shown across Western Europe celebrating the hits of the decade. Savile presented a series of public information films. Before I get into the public information films, we're going to start getting into the charitable works of Jimmy Savile, right? Oh, right on, Erica. Thank you. We do need a cooking channel on the Discord, by the way, Jameson. I'm checking. Let's catch up with chat real quick. Yeah. We really do. We really do need a cooking channel. And thank you, Erica. I'm really trying to hone in the true crime thing. You guys really like talking about true crime. I do too. Try to do at least one a week. Savile did a lot of public service announcements. It's good I was taking a break. Hello, Lux. What up? Welcome back from work, lady. How's your day going? We're talking Savile and his PSAs. He did a lot of them. Notably, Clunk Click Every Trip. It's the UK's version of Click It or Ticket. I don't know if you have a Click It or Ticket campaign in your state, but in the state of Arkansas, they have one. And it's, wear a seatbelt. You could die. See, it promoted these seatbelts. The clunk representing the sound of the door. The click representing the sound of the seatbelt fastening. So, clunk, click, every trip. I kind of like the, it's really unfortunate they chose him to be the face of a pretty effective bit of marketing there. It led to Savile's Saturday night chat/variety show from 1973 on BBC One entitled Clunk Click, which in 1974 featured the UK heats of the Eurovision Song Contest featuring Olivia Newton-John. After 2 series, Clunk Click was replaced by Jim'll Fix It, which is this is a big one. The Jim'll Fix It era is, I believe, 3 decades long functionally, which he presented from 1975 to 1994. Savile won an award from Mary Whitehouse's National Viewers and Listeners Association in 1977 for his wholesome family entertainment. One moment. What you whatting about? What? Oh. He fronted a long-running series of advertisements in the early 1980s for British Rail and Intercity 125, in which he declared, "This is the age of the train." Savile was twice the subject of the Thames television series This Is Your Life, in January 1970 with Eamon Andrews, and again in December 1990 with Michael Aspel. We've got one of those This Is Your Life. We've got the footage from one of those pulled up here. So we're going to get into some of that because I want to look at and I want us to kind of observe Savile as a character in real time. It's the portion of the stream today that might get us pulled from YouTube, but it'll be on Twitch, it'll be on Facebook, maybe. Maybe.
We may get told.
Yeah, we might get pulled from one platform, but we're multi-streaming, so we'll be all right. In an interview by Anthony Clare for the radio series In the Psychiatrist's Chair in 1991, Savile appeared to be a man without feelings. Clare was struck by Savile's emphasis on two recurring themes: money and denying his feelings. In light of Savile's apparently non-existent love life, Clare noted that other interviewers had speculated about possible skeletons in Savile's closet. Notice the veil. They don't want to say too much when you do have an outright accusation. When you have these public, like we're just going through his career, and when accusations pop up, they are veiled at best. There is something chilling about this 20th century saint, Clare concluded in 1992 in his introduction to the published transcript of his interview. Andrew Neil interviewed him for the TV series Is This Your Life? In 1995, where Savile used a banana to avoid discussing his personal life. In 1999, he appeared as a panelist on Have I Got News for You? So again, he was all over. I would recognize him on panel shows and stuff. He was frequently a topic on the early 2000s round table. You know, you get a bunch of comedians to talk type of shows. And that's another one of those, like, I think he really enjoyed getting the invitation to be on those. And he would talk about that a lot. In April 2000, he was the subject of a documentary by Louis Theroux in the When Louis Met series, in which Louis Theroux accompanied British celebrities going about their daily business and interviewed them about their lives and experiences. In the documentary, Savile confided that he used to beat people up and lock them in a basement during his career as a nightclub manager. When Theroux challenged Savile about rumors of pedophilia over a decade before, Savile said, "We live in a very funny world, and it's easier for me as a single man to say I don't like children because that puts a lot of salacious tabloid people off the hunt." We're going to listen to the way he delivers that specific quote later in the show, so stay tuned, guys. Savile visited the Celebrity Big Brother house on the 14th and 15th of January 2006, and I mean, he looked like a fossil when he showed up on Big Brother, guys. And fixed it for some housemates to have their wishes granted. Pete Burns received a message from his boyfriend, Michael and Lynn, his ex-wife, while Dennis Rodman... Wait, what? Oh... While Dennis Rodman traded Savile's offering for a supply of cigarettes for the other housemates. In 2007, Savile returned to television with Jim Will Fix It Strikes Again, showing some of the most popular fix-its, recreating them with the same people and making new dreams come true. That's, you know, format of Jim Will Fix It. While we're talking about his television, he would write to Jimmy Savile, I want this or that. I want to, one of the sweetest examples as seen in the Netflix documentary, I want to take my teacher out to a nice meal. He will make that happen. He'll film it. It'll be on TV. You'll get a medal. Be the talk of the town. Debbie, yeah, Debbie, he was on Big Brother. Again, Savile before everything came out was everywhere. He was referenced all the time. You'd see even little home drawings of him, people dressed as him for Halloween. It was all encompassing. And a big part of that, you know, there's this other aspect to Savile I want to talk about before we move on to some of this footage I have compiled here from the news from when this all broke after he passed. His fundraising work, he raised a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money. Savile is estimated to have raised $40 million for charity. One cause for which he raised money was Stoke Mandeville Hospital, where he volunteered for many years as a porter. So you have this, he was raised Catholic, in a family of 7. We know that he's not scared of laborious work. We know that he's embraced this thing called the power of odd, seemingly not just to get him out of laborious work, but to put him in the good graces of probably the people running the show. So this is a man who's not just built an ego, he's built an ability to climb to the top of the ladder and be their jester and stay in the court. Does this make sense? It's the character we've already, and this is just us going through the different aspects of his career. When we get to fundraising, that's one of the main ones that took him, this elevated him to a different, like, we're not talking about rock stars anymore. We're talking about royalty. We're talking about world leaders. And we're also talking about the illusion of laborious work to have access to children's hospitals, which is shakably insidious. Let's see here. He raised money for the spinal unit, NSIC, National Spinal Injury Center, and St. Francis Ward, a ward for children and teens with spinal cord injuries. Savile also volunteered at Leeds General Infirmary and Broadmoor Hospital. In August 1988, he was appointed by Junior Health Minister Edwina Curry chair of an interim task force overseeing the management of Broadmoor Hospital after its board members had been suspended. Savile had his own rooms at both Stoke Mandeville and Broadmoor. He had rooms. He had places he would go and stay at these hospitals. Another red flag when compounded with the personality type and the skeletons in the closet, this veiled open secret we already have revealed just going through his career. In 1989, Savile started legal proceedings against newsgroup newspapers after the News of the World published an article in January 1988 suggesting he had been in a position to secure the release of patients from Broadmoor who were considered dangerous. Savile won on the 11th of July, 1989. Newsgroup paid his legal cost, and he received an apology from editors Kelvin McKenzie and Patsy Chapman. Now, so already attached to his hospital work and his fundraising, he has won a lawsuit with a major news group in the UK. This is you gotta fear this man. He is on the higher rungs of the ladder, even for people who edit the newspaper. From 1974 to 1988, Savile was the honorary president of FAB, physically handicapped in the able-bodied community. He sponsored medical students performing undergraduate research in the Leeds University Research Enterprise Scholarship Scheme, donating more than $60,000 every year. In 2010, the scheme was given a commitment of £1 million over the following 5 years. Following Savile's death on October 11th, it was confirmed at the bequest that a bequest had been made to allow continued support for the program. So he even left things in his will. There's certain charities keep paying out if there's money in the coffers. Savile was a participant in marathons. He did so many charity marathons. Many for FAB, including its annual half marathon around Hyde Park, London. He also cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats in 10 days for the Royal National Lifeboat Institution and ran in the Scottish People's Marathon. It was reported that he completed the London Marathon at the age of 79. Rumors that he was driven round in a lead vehicle as an observer were denied by marathon officials. But he might have actually ran a marathon into his old age. Savile set up 2 charities, the Jimmy Savile Stoke Mandeville Trust in 1981 and the Leeds-based Jimmy Savile Charitable Trust in 1984. During the sexual abuse scandal in October 2012, the charities announced they would distribute their funds of $1.7 million and $3.7 million respectively among other charities and then closed down. He also raised money for several Jewish charities. It is interesting. It's interesting. His main form of charitable work, it would seem, be running. Of all the things he could do, he preferred marathon running. Just a character note to leave here. Now, we're 30 minutes into the stream. I was hoping it would go. Hello, Arianthe. Hey, hop in this Discord.
I'm here.
Heck yeah. We're going to...
I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, you're good. I'm going to read another little spiel about the essay allegations. Which, again, true. They are been proven to be true. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Debbie says they lied. He only completed 2 marathons and his car dropped him near the finish line for the others. I believe it. He seemed to be obsessed with image, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, wearing a shell suit, dyeing his hair, the different glasses, but also we already have this red flag behavior of, he says he likes to tie people up in the basement when he was a club owner. He's roughed people up. He has this the gruff side of that northern UK. You know, he'll go full Cockney. It would appear.
Not concerning.
Yeah, you know, and
Nothing concerning about it. I like to tie people up.
yeah, and it's just he's already cut as a fascinating, potentially evil character, but this almost in your house, friend of the family, weird uncle image he had built, like it had worked at a certain, like it worked for years.
Yeah.
He had groomed with this type of behavior a nation to accept his behaviors as normal.
Yeah.
And that type of grooming led to this here. These are the allegations during his lifetime. During Savile's lifetime, sporadic allegations of child abuse were made against him, dating back to 1963. It's actually 1956, I believe, but whatever. These only came widely publicized after his death. Savile claimed the key to his success on Jim'll Fix It had been that he disliked children, although he later admitted to saying this to deflect scrutiny of his personal life. He did not own a computer, claiming that he did not want anybody to think he was downloading CP. His autobiography, As It Happens, from 1974, reprinted as Love is an Uphill Thing, 1976, contains admissions of improper SC, sexual conduct, which appear to have passed unnoticed during his lifetime. See, he can't help but reveal himself. And it's not until after
People
the
like
fact
that do that.
Yeah. He was not particularly slick with it. He had just built, he was using the power of art, I suppose. And nobody questioned it. If they did, they just said, well, he's crazy. That's just our Jim, and that's how he rolls.
Yeah.
He's harmless. He fixes things. See, this is one of my favorite stories from the Jimmy Savile accusation pool. Former Sex Pistols and Public Image Limited vocalist John Lydon alluded to sordid conduct committed by Savile, as well as suppression of widely held knowledge about such activity in an October 1978 interview recorded for BBC Radio 1. Lyon stated, "I'd like to kill Jimmy Savile. I think he's a hypocrite. I bet he's into all kinds of seediness that we all know about but are not allowed to talk about. I know some rumors," he added. "I bet none of this will be allowed out." As he predicted, the comment was edited out of by the BBC prior to broadcasting, but the complete interview was included as a bonus track on a re-release of Public Image Limited's 1978 debut album, Public Image First Issue, in 2013, after Savile's death. So even Lydon didn't release his version of like his copy of the edited story until after Savile's death, which again, this fear of libel, this fear of losing in court.
Yeah.
This fear of being sure you will lose in court.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to explain. You know, there's American criminals who you hear about decades of abuse or having committed their crime. And there's these red flags that people had noticed and they have to jump states. This is a massive figure who, because he managed to sue, what was it, the Sun Group once and win, everybody is scared. And he's also at this point in the 70s, I believe, rubbing shoulders proper with royalty.
Oh, yeah.
With royalty. So there's no there's nothing I could see how you feel helpless against that person.
Mm-hmm.
In October
This
20,
has
yes,
such a Bill Cosby feel to it.
that's a really good example. Bill Cosby, Weinstein, people like that,
Yeah.
who it's an open secret. You know, they're
Mhm.
it's not a skeleton in the closet. It's legitimate abuse allegations, and it's not being worded like that. In October 2014, Lydon expanded on his original quote, saying, "By killed, I meant locking him up and stopping him assaulting young children. I'm disgusted at the media pretending they weren't aware." And
Yeah. See?
by 1978, a young Lydon knew what he was doing. Throw the mic around today, man. Here in
Sometimes you have to.
yeah. In a 1990 interview for The Independent on Sunday, Lynn Barber asked Savile about rumors that he liked little girls. Savile replied that as he worked in the pop music business, the young girls in question don't gather round me because of me. It's because I know the people they love, the stars. I'm of no interest to them. This is a minimizing statement. That's a minimizing statement while also advertising what you could potentially do for a young girl. Like, this is such a strange way to address that.
Feels Dan Schneider-ish.
Very Dan Schneider-ish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm harmless to these kids. I'm just trying to get them on TV. Interest, yeah, bait, says Erica in the chat. Exactly.
Yeah. Who was it that was there for the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and like two all boy bands?
Oh, yes.
Can't remember his name.
Lou Pearlman.
Yes. That's kind of what it feels like. It's got a very esque, which is scary
Yes.
to me because there's so many examples to give here.
Yes. Lou Pearlman is exactly one of those that was, hey, I'm nothing. I'm not predacious or weird. I'm just trying to get your boy to play some shows in the mall with, you know what I mean? It very much these baity answers. These are red flags for anybody who isn't seemingly above litigation, as he appeared to be. Bizarre. In 2007, Savile was interviewed under caution by police investigating an allegation of indecent assault in the 1970s at the now closed Duncroft Approved School for Girls near Staines, Surrey, where he was a regular visitor. So this Duncroft school, he was indeed a frequent. He frequented this establishment. And in the Netflix documentary that just recently came out, it's a two-parter, but in the first and second part, they interview a young man whose mother worked at Duncroft, and he spent a lot of time as a child at Duncroft. And there are so many consistent consistent and similar eyewitness stories that this just it even with the skewing of time, you know. Oh goodness, welcome Tripper. Tripper doesn't have internet at the new pad yet. Hey, well welcome Tripper.
Hey.
Let's see. In October 2009, the Crown Prosecution Service advised there was insufficient evidence to take any further action and no charges were brought, which again, when you have more than 1 decade or at least 2 years of victims with consistent stories, there's no way that we get consistent stories, and they did not at the time. I realize that they could have gotten together and spoken to each other. I'm not naive in thinking that, but the level of detail and the scared to say it in public, there's no way they got together. And we have
Yeah.
they have proof through internet forums that people were genuinely scared to talk about it or to say his name even online at one point, which is crazy to think about, because he said he didn't own a computer, he doesn't pay attention to that stuff, and it's like it's hard to find it
He
even if
doesn't
you
have
were
to pay attention to it.
Yeah. You
There's
have,
teams. Yeah, teams of people holding your back, you know?
yeah. Let's see here. In March 2008, Savile started legal proceedings against The Sun, which had linked him to several articles, him in several articles to child abuse at the Jersey Children's Home. At first, he denied visiting Haute de Garin, the Jersey Children's Home, but later admitted he had done so following the publication of a photograph showing him at the home surrounded by children. The states of Jersey police said that in 2008, an allegation of an indecent assault by Savile at the home in the 1970s had been investigated, but there had been insufficient evidence to proceed. Insufficient evidence.
Always, always.
In 2009, in a 2009 interview with his biographer, Savile defended viewers of CP, including pop star and convicted sex offender Gary Glitter. He argued that viewers didn't do anything wrong, but they are then demonized. Yeah. What they did.
Gosh.
Excuse me? And described Glitter as a celebrity being unfairly vilified for watching dodgy films in the privacy of his home. Gary has not tried to sell him, not tried to show him in public or anything like that. It were for his own gratification. Whether it was right or wrong is, of course, it's up to him as a person. The interview was not published at the time, and the recording was not released until after Savile's death.
Why?
I assume to keep the evidence out of court.
Oh, absolutely.
And
If
out of
anybody had heard him
investigations.
say that, you know, they would have been like, hey, we need to look into this dude, you know?
It's insane. It's insane. In 2012, Sir Roger Jones, a former BBC governor for Wales and chairman of BBC charity Children in Need, disclosed that more than a decade before Savile's death, he had banned the very strange and creepy Savile from involvement in the charity. Former royal family press secretary Dickie Arbiter said Savile's behavior had raised concern and suspicion when Savile acted as an informal marriage counselor between Prince Charles and Princess Diana in the late 1980s. Although no reports had been made, Arbiter added that during his regular visits to Charles's office at St. James Palace, Savile would do the rounds of the young ladies, taking their hands and rubbing his lips all the way up their arms.
Gross.
That's insane behavior.
That's creepy
insane
for
behavior.
anybody.
That's insane behavior.
Unless you're in the Addams family, that's weird.
Yes. It's insane. We're not going to. That is the end of all of this. I have pulled up here the definition of a Bevan Bull. You guys get it. Conscripted coal miner. He had a rough childhood. He was raised through a pretty bad depression, so it was it was rough. He was also
Sure.
worked through the rebuilding of the UK after, the Blitz. So
Yeah, just. Ugh.
Yeah. Now, I've got a lot of things pulled up here. We are 45 minutes into the program, and we've cut a pretty interesting
Erica.
character.
Erica
This
gave
is
us a side note, and I'm with you, sister.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't want to tell anyone certain things that happened to me because I was afraid men wouldn't want to date me for fear of being accused of such things, and I was afraid of women thinking I was lying for attention, because that is what I have seen others go through. It's sad. The reason I share this is because if you wanted to get famous, see, I will even, though, yeah, you have these allegations. Yeah. That's why you don't speak when it's a famous person. Yeah, and he would say things like that. You're a this or that. You're lesser than.
Mhm.
You're lower. You are not on my level.
Almost a taunt.
Yes, and it's keep in mind, it's a very creepy looking jester telling you that.
Yeah.
Now let's get into some of this here.
Last year, Jimmy Savile's coffin was driven past Leeds General.
I don't own the rights. This is ITV News. As far as I know, this was publicly broadcasted news. Not infringing on any copyrights as far as I know, and I certainly do not intend to.
Hospital, where he'd worked as a volunteer porter. Hospital staff joined the crowds, saying their goodbyes and applauding him. How things have changed.
This was immediately after he had passed. A funeral procession, people cheering. National hero, if you will.
Each day brings new shocking allegations, the latest suggesting he used his charity work to gain access to the young and the vulnerable. 40 years ago, June Thornton was a patient at Leeds General Infirmary.
40 years, and it wasn't until after he passed. No, not to be rude, but look at the age of this woman. It's unfair by any standard.
That's so sad.
Debbie says in the chat, some of the children were told if they'd done things with him, he'd get them on Jim Will Fix It and make their dreams come true. They were also bribed.
She says she saw the TV and radio star molest a brain-damaged girl, a memory that has haunted her.
Jimmy Savile come to a young lady sat in a chair. Unfortunately, this lady, I think, had brain damage because she just sat there and he kissed her, and I thought he was a visitor coming to see her.
This allegation in particular, not only do I believe it wholeheartedly, I want to point out that this is an allegation against somebody who is mentally handicapped. Not Jimmy Savile's not mentally handicapped. This is an allegation for a victim that is mentally handicapped. And the type of person you would have to be, we've talked about a few different types of mind and criminal on True Crime and Chat, but somebody who preys on people who are in the hospital. This is evil.
And he started rubbing his hands down her arms, and then, I don't know of a nice way to put it, but he molested her. He helped himself, and she just sat there and couldn't do anything about it.
I want to point out the fear in this woman. This has been 4 decades since she saw this happen. There still appears to be fear in her eyes.
And I've lived with that now for 40 years.
Savile raised millions for Stoke Mandeville Hospital in Buckinghamshire, but here too stories are emerging of nurses telling children to pretend to be asleep to avoid his attentions. The trust that runs Stoke Mandeville today said it was shocked by the allegations and was supporting the police investigation. June Thornton is hoping for higher intervention.
May God forgive me, but I hope he's in hell, because that's where he deserves to be. If you put
She couldn't make it. The end of it, this has been 40 years. Something that she saw, and it still gets her like that. I couldn't imagine the viciousness in which he was approaching these women, these children.
The BBC Director General has again faced uncomfortable questions about knowledge of their former star's behaviour.
I think the allegations are horrifying.
And how far will this investigation go? Will you talk on TV? Will you make an apology?
I already apologised on the radio this morning, on today, earlier in the week.
Do you think the BBC response to this has been correct?
Yes, we went straight to the police with it as soon as we had a sense of the scale of what had been going on.
And you're happy with your role in this, are you?
I'm entirely convinced that I've done all the right things. Yeah.
He's at a loss for words. He wasn't prepared for that question. He wasn't ready to have his ready to answer or have any accountability for this situation. You could tell.
Yeah.
That's.
Police say they've now received further complaints of sexual assault allegedly involving Savile in Liverpool.
This clip of him explaining equipment to move the paralyzed. It's shocking to see, knowing what he's done. And, you know, he worked as a porter. He moved people. He knew how to move people. He'd move people by himself sometimes if able to. And all of these things, all these little things, it seems like he's going out of his way to do this very humble job. This is teaching him how to function in this hospital. This is not just this is giving him multiple excuses to be there and training him how to move people, to take people's physical freedom, their freedom of motion away. You know, and he's specifically targeting the paralyzed.
Scarborough, West Yorkshire and Bedfordshire. Paul Davis, ITV News.
Just such a chilling thing to see. That particular clip gets me, of him explaining.
The police currently have 8 formal allegations against Sir Jimmy Savile, 2 of rape and 6 of indecent assault.
This is early days in them investigating this. This is when this is from. So, you know, I tried to kind of stack these in order the best I could, and then have a couple other, you know, full interviews with Savile himself we could go through. But here you're already at what, 8 and 6? That's crazy. That's massive.
But they say information is coming in all the time. Tonight, his family have announced they're taking down the headstone on his Scarborough grave because they say if it stayed, they're deeply aware of the impact it could have on the dignity and sanctity of the cemetery. Porrick O'Brien reports.
This afternoon, for the first time.
Cigar in his mouth, glasses inside, tracksuit. There's certain things that we would associate in the United States as gangster, and I don't know if that necessarily translates over there, but he specifically referenced The Godfather in an interview explaining his management style, if you will, how he is when he's a boss. Yeah. So there's when you see this pose here that I paused on, that he thinks he's a gangster. He's a Godfather. Pimpin', says Erica in the chat.
Yeah.
Pimpin', exactly. Not a children's character, a pimp from the street, but somehow through the power of odd and public image, spun himself into people's house and into their houses, into hospitals.
Just how seriously the police
On our
are
screens.
taking claims of abuse at the hands of Jimmy Savile came into sharp focus. Today, the rumours, the conjecture, the press reports crystallised into a very real, very sad story. The Metropolitan Police and the NSPCC painted a picture of abuse on an almost industrial scale.
I think at this stage, the facts speak for themselves. 8 crime allegations, a further 20 potential victims to speak to. The sheer volume of calls that are coming into us I'll allow the public to take that decision and pass that judgment for themselves.
Given what you've seen, was Jimmy Savile a paedophile?
It looks like Savile's preference or his predilection was for teenage girls, and that's girls from the ages 13 to about 16.
So yes is the answer to that question.
Yes.
Other new information has also emerged. The alleged abuse spanned over 40 years. The first reported incident happened in 1959.
See, here they've dug back all the way to 1959. Like I said earlier, I found an allegation from 1956. I read somewhere that somebody said 1955. And that's insane. That's insane. You know, I would imagine the years, you know, people only live so long. So
Yeah.
he was already somebody who lived far too long for the things he was up to. I want to note here, too, they mentioned that it would appear he was up to assault on an industrial scale.
Jesus.
There's only one way, you know, you have to have access to a school or a hospital, and it would appear he had access to functionally both and could just bounce from one girl's home to a hospital to a spinal injury ward to a girl's home to a hospital to a spinal injury ward and live this level of depravity.
One of the complaints came from a man, although police can't give details. Finally, after an appeal to BBC staff by the Director General, information from employees there has now been passed to police, including information handed over by Newsnight.
Do you think that Freddie Starr would make a good parachutist?
Last night we revealed that, contrary to what the comedian Freddie Starr had said before, he had in fact met Savile during a guest appearance on this programme, and that he had met one of the women, Karen Ward, here on the left, who had accused Starr of molesting her when she was...
That's a massive one. I know a little bit about the history of Karen Ward's investigation, right? And when the police initially started investigating Karen Ward's allegations, she said that she was on this show, Clunk Click, and they couldn't find it initially. Then it just happened to pop up in the archive. And sure enough, boom, on this episode. I think it was on ended up on some kind of compilation that one of the investigators saw in a commercial or something. Boom, there she is.
14. Today, Starr, with his fiancée by his side, vigorously denied this.
Never. I never have done, I never would do.
I notice how young his fiancée is.
Jeez.
While he's denying these allegations. And I want, another thing, the hair.
I don't even like women younger than me, he says.
With a fiancé right there.
Right, yeah.
Clearly younger than him. His hair done up like he's Elvis. Like he's a Jimmy Savile meets Elvis. Like it's bizarre. Jameson's back.
Well, hello, Jameson. I was calling for you yesterday. I was trying to manifest you.
Yeah, we was yelling. We've been yelling for you. We've needed you. We've needed you for Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. I'm gonna probably just as we're doing the hangout, if it's live, I'll probably just pop it on.
It's worth it.
Have something.
You missed her storming out of the courtroom today. It was great.
Oh goodness, did she really?
She did.
It's
my favorite part of the whole day.
We'll have to go back over it tomorrow or something.
Yeah.
Oof. But
there is a little Chris Farley and Elvis in here. Rest their souls.
Yes.
Sort of. Elvis has him and I have a rough he doesn't know it, obviously, relationship. But Elvis did date women, little girls.
Freddie Starr looks like he has the same 30-minute act that he did in the 70s. Like this looks like he just runs the same.
It's not my style.
Look at her. She's right there. What do you mean she's not?
It's not my style.
There's one thing I hate, close to my heart, is pedophiles. I cannot stand.
Oh, really?
Look at her. Her lips are pursed. She seems like this is her body language. Her body language seems uncomfortable.
He's sitting over there like, you lying ass.
Why is she in a full coat and he's in like a bowling shirt?
Do we know how old she was whenever they started dating?
I would love to know. because I bet you it is to the contrary of his statement right now. You know?
Will you be questioning Freddie Starr?
At this stage, I'm not prepared to comment on what else we might do, but part of our terms of reference for the team is to actually see what, if any, offending by people who are alive and can be criminally prosecuted can be taken forward.
We've also spoken to Jimmy Savile's producer of 21 years.
Here's him when he was knighted, leaving Buckingham Palace.
On shows like Jim'll Fix It. He never saw or heard
the quirkiness, the eyebrows, the posture. This man, if you guys just observe as they play clips of him.
Savile behaving inappropriately.
Guilty is the right expression, because I don't think that in Jim'll Fix It anything like that happened, so it wasn't under my aegis.
Although I suppose you were responsible for creating this image of a likeable uncle-type character sitting on his armchair, which it would seem he was far from.
Yes, and that's why I find the whole thing a pretty harrowing piece of news. So yes, I suppose that guilty is the right word. Yes.
Finally, another twist in this tragic tale. Savile's family have announced today they are to remove his headstone in Scarborough.
We've known. We've known about that one. I don't know.
Today, a week after the story first hit, the BBC Director General George Entwistle apologised to victims of alleged sex abuse by Sir Jimmy Savile and...
Now, if you notice at this point, the images they're using for the headline flyer, if you will, I don't know what else to say, for their backdrop, pretty old photos. They're like, you know, they're pretty newer photos of Savile, if you will. They're him as an old man. Rotten teeth exposed if possible. There's a lot, you know, this BBC4 choosing to use this photo with just the words Savile Inquiry really does say a lot about at least the editor of that graphics position.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Promised to hold an internal inquiry after the police investigation. It comes as this programme has spoken to Savile's former BBC producer, who describes the lack of child protection procedures at the corporation in the 1970s and reveals that nobody from the BBC has contacted him, despite the fact he was Savile's producer for 21 years. And we've unearthed footage of the comedian Freddie Starr, who last week applied for an injunction to keep his name out of the story, appearing alongside Savile during that period, contradicting his comments last week. Porrick O'Brien has this exclusive report on the story and the allegations that will not go away.
When did public attitude start to change about Jimmy Savile? You may have said after the ITV documentary last week. You'd be wrong. In the 80s, Savile appeared on a BBC programme called Open to Question.
We're going to get into some analysis from the news.
It was hosted by a young Christian Guru Murphy.
Remind me of the subject matter. I thought it was a fun thing, but never mind.
A panel of teenagers asked him the questions then that if we could, everyone wants to ask him now.
Jimmy, you've never been married and you don't seem to have a very high regard of women. Oh. Do you feel that women are inferior to you, or are you frightened from them?
Let's check this answer out. Do you think women are inferior to you?
Don't you see an intellectual contradiction in your tabloid claim of having sex in a passion wagon and your profession to be a devout Roman Catholic?
Oh, you must put the camera on this man. This man is the only person I know in the world who believes newspapers.
Scare him. Put the camera on this man. Put the camera on this man in his tracksuit with the cigar and the sunglasses again. In the context of friendly British personality, that's one thing. In the context of angry northerner gangster, might be a little scary. You know, the man who can beat the papers. Not even the Queen can beat the press.
Clunk the car door and click the seatbelts. Clunk, click, every trip.
Another BBC show, Clunk Click, during the 70s with Jimmy Savile. Last week, a woman claimed that during the making of this episode of Clunk Click with Jimmy Savile, The comedian Freddie Starr molested her. She was
Back to the Freddie
14
Starr
at the time.
coverage. There
Freddie
he
Starr
is.
said this wasn't true, that he'd never met her. He went on to say,
I've only met Jimmy Savile maybe twice. He came to see me with his mother at one of my shows. I always thought he was a flash.
No, you didn't. You were clearly friends with him during that episode of Clunk Click, and you went to his shows.
The other time was when he came into mine and my partner's men's clothing shop in Leeds. We were set in the shop and he walked past, looked in, and then came in.
but here's the thing. Channel 4 News has discovered that Freddie Starr had met Jimmy Savile a third time because Freddie Starr was a special guest on this episode.
This is constant
Freddie
with
Starr
this.
would make a good parachutist.
But there's more. This is the woman who alleged that Starr molested her that day. She was interviewed last week and explained that she'd told her story to Newsnight, but that Newsnight had decided not to run the story.
See, I wanted to show the press coverage around Savile ad nauseum here to show how it starts to become like a, you know, the victims are like, well, I've optioned this to 3 other people. I've optioned this to so-and-so. Nobody will take this story. Still, the man's dead.
Yeah.
I also told them.
It's just, it's so sad, Arianthe. Like,
Yeah, it really is.
we
We see it a lot, though.
Mm-hmm. We've seen it turn from, you know, the lady who has nothing to lose, who saw something 40 years ago, still fearful in the eyes, to desperation to tell the story.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly like just the, you know, the implied stifling of their voices is just horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Them that I was horribly, horribly humiliated by Freddie Starr, who had a very bad attack of wandering hands and had groped me, and I didn't like him because he smelled like my stepfather, and it frightened me and freaked me out, and I rebuffed him.
That was last week. This was Karen Ward when she was 14, on the set of Clunk Click, with Freddie Starr, during that episode. This doesn't prove that Starr molested Karen Ward. It does call into question what he said, though, about this incident. Separate to this, Jimmy Savile's producer of...
Notice her resemblance to his current fiancée.
21 years, including on this show, and Jim will fix it, spoke to us today.
Was child protection on
Back
your
then, anyway,
radar as an
you know.
issue back then?
I have to say, I don't suppose it was. It's an awful thing to say, isn't it? But no.
Are you surprised that nobody from the BBC has called you in the last fortnight?
I am a bit surprised, yes. I'm expecting, if there is this inquiry, that somebody surely is going to speak to me.
Even Ordish, who produced Jim will fix it, is like, I'm not sure why they haven't called me yet.
Because on the BBC.
The BBC in particular.
You were the go-between, weren't you, between Savile and the corporation? You were the linchpin.
Yes, I was the person responsible.
So if they were taking this seriously, you would imagine that somebody would have picked up the phone to you in the last fortnight.
Well, I'm expecting a call at any time.
Today, the Director General of the BBC spoke for the first time about the scandal.
We need a comprehensive examination of what went on here. But at the heart of what went on are a series of criminal allegations about the behaviour of Sir Jimmy Savile. Now, the way to deal with those is to make sure that the police, who are the only properly constituted authority for dealing with criminal investigations, are allowed to make the examinations and inquiries they need to make.
In the coming days, the Met Police will announce how many women have complained about Jimmy Savile.
Porrick O'Brien. Well, in a statement to Channel 4 News this evening, Freddie Starr's solicitor said, Freddie is now 69 and cannot be expected to recollect every show that he's appeared on and to remember every person that he has met. It would now appear...
See, even his representation throws minimizing things out meant to make the victims feel lesser than.
Yeah.
Like, that's the implication there, you know?
From seeing footage of a Clunk Click show aired in 1974 that in fact Freddie was mistaken and therefore that he had in fact been on a Jimmy Savile show. However, this does not detract away from the fact that Freddie vigorously denies the awful allegation that has been made by Karen Ward, which despite this footage is still totally unsupported and uncorroborated by any other evidence. We did invite the BBC's Director General George Entwistle to talk to us, but he declined. Our offer remains open.
Have it. Continuing journey.
Well, the BBC isn't the only institution facing allegations about Jimmy Savile, also carrying out investigations.
I want to point out again, as we continue down the journey, more allegation. Now to Savile, more allegations. Just ridiculous. Ridiculous. They're still using old or bloated photos of him.
That fiance that Freddie Starr had was 40 years younger than him.
Oh my goodness. 40 years younger than him. Yeah.
40 years.
He's not into young, he's into women his age, he said. That's crazy.
Investigations are organisations that cared for some of the most vulnerable people in society, including the most secure hospital in the country. At Stoke Mandeville and Leeds General, Jimmy Savile was given a bedroom and an office. At Broadmoor, Britain's high-security psychiatric hospital, he got his own set of keys. One former patient says the presenter was able to do exactly as he liked amid a conspiracy of silence. And you may find some parts of this report from our social affairs editor, Jackie Long, distressing.
Broadmoor High Security Mental Hospital, home to some of the most disturbed people in the country. And DJ and TV personality Jimmy Savile was given the run of the place. Stephen George, who since had a sex change operation, was a 17-year-old girl when he says Savile sexually assaulted him.
He started just coming in and plonking himself down and watching Top of the Pops with us on Lancaster Ward 1, which is where the incident happened. He was able to sit in front of the sofa on the floor and hide what he was doing, which he put his hand straight up my nightdress.
Almost desperation in the voice to tell the story. You're reaching people, almost rushing to get the story out. It's been suppressed and stifled for so long.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
It's incredible.
Kind of, it is.
The fact that it's still a story that's coming out this passionately from somebody who is now in a different life.
Yeah.
You know, it's just...
And we weren't allowed to wear pants. So I was, unfortunately, I could do nothing. I couldn't stop him. Because Broadmoor staff would have punished me if I'd stood up and said what he was doing. They wouldn't have believed me, and they would have just punished me.
Jimmy Savile didn't have any trouble getting access to the high security unit. In fact, he had his very own special set of keys.
But I remember his keys were gold-coloured, and the staff's were just silver-coloured. And it was like bowing and scraping to him as if he was some kind of god. But he was a DJ. What was he doing completely free in a top security mental hospital?
What was he doing? Well, at one point, he was actually running the hospital. This is how his appointment was reported.
Yeah. Fixing It for Broadmoor, TVS, October 1988 is what that was from. So he had a specific special, Fixing It for Broadmoor.
Dr. John Hamilton was replaced as medical director, and the 15-member board of management disbanded. The running of Broadmoor was effectively given over to a 5-man task force, headed by none other than Jimmy Savile.
His leadership strategy for Broadmoor at one with his image as a man of the people.
We are a great listening hospital. We listen to people. I listen to nurses. I listen to doctors. I listen to porters. I listen to drivers. I listen to everybody. We've turned into a great listening hospital.
And it was that powerful...
A great listening hospital. The power of communication is in this man's hands, according to his victims. You know what I mean? There's no point in them even communicating their story. Nobody would listen. There's nobody there to hear it, and the people who might hear it might cause danger to their life.
Yeah.
I've guaranteed that they will.
Trusted image, which won him access to vulnerable young people. And no one, says Stephen George, was listening to them.
We were perfect victims, because in a place like Broadmoor, immediately people say, well, you're mad, you're bad, you're a nutter, therefore we don't believe anything you say. And that's exactly my experience.
Ugh. Broadmoor was not the only NHS institution which allowed Jimmy Savile extraordinary access to wards.
Hello, Alley Cats.
Former patients at Stoke Mandeville Hospital and Leeds General Infirmary have come forward claiming he sexually assaulted them. All three institutions say they are cooperating with police inquiries, but as yet are not carrying out investigations of their own. But there are, for many, questions to answer.
Those that actually knew, and there were people who knew exactly what he was doing, they're the ones, they should be in court. Because if you want to catch paedophiles, and not just him, all of them, they're always enabled. 9 times out of 10, people know. And it's those, the people who sit in silence, they're as bad as he is. And the people that gave him the access, they knew. Not every individual knew, but those that did were turning a blind eye to creating victims. And I just get so mad that those people are still having their lives, you know, drinking champagne, living good lives. Some of us are not.
As allegations of abuse by Savile grow, pressure mounts on all the institutions involved. The Department of Health say they're leaving it to the police for now, but like the BBC, will they too be forced to change their mind?
Yeah. The depictions are it's changing what they're showing up. Can't believe.
Tell me what happened.
Now we have on live air, sitting down, speaking to victims like they probably should have, even when this was, even if it would have turned into libel. You know, even if it would have turned into a liable case, they still should have given them this respect, in my opinion. When you have this many corroborated and shared stories.
Yeah.
This is news. Like, that's news. That's your job.
What was it that you heard about Jimmy Savile?
What I heard was a patient who had been in Broadmoor for 8 years told me that he had sexually assaulted her and that he had then gone on to much younger girls. She said he had a preference for the younger women, and that the unit where she was had very young women, 16 and even younger than that, I believe. And she had become incredibly angry and upset about it, and she had confronted Jimmy Savile and told him that she was going to report him high up because she believed it was, my impression at the time, I can't remember exact words, but my impression I was left with was that she'd felt that it was pointless to do anything but go to the top, because everybody was fully aware of what he was doing, and the fact that nothing was being done meant that she couldn't trust the staff who were around to do anything about it. And he had laughed in her face, is what I remember, that phrase very much, that she said he'd laughed in her face.
What made you believe her?
Because I could, you know, when people tell you about really traumatic things in their lives, particularly that kind of thing, sexual thing, you can tell by so many things about their body language, their eyes. It was genuine. It was, you know, I'd have laid my life on it. You know, I knew she was telling the truth. I knew it right through to my core, you know, absolutely.
This is something that I feel like I was experiencing when watching some of the victims tell their stories on the news. This was definitely how I felt about, you know, like I've said, you could see the fear, you could see the need to tell the story, the running to the words. It's genuine. You just know as a human, it's genuine.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
And so what did you do?
Well, it was difficult because at that time we didn't have, as nurses,
Debbie wrote to him to try to meet Duran Duran.
Nowadays.
That is so cute and so wholesome.
Debbie, that is very wholesome. Debbie
That
wanted to meet
made me
Duran
smile.
Duran. She was hungry like the wolf. Oh, man.
So there was no confidentiality policy. And she had asked me not to tell anyone. And I did make a decision to breach that, which obviously put me in a difficult position with her as well. But I tried to persuade her, but she wasn't. She was terrified of authority. She just wanted to keep her head down and get out, get free again, which I can absolutely understand.
So this was on the fearful side. Again, I got a feeling that, and I haven't said the number yet, but between 450 and 500 potential victims.
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
Again, crime on an industrial scale.
Holy shit.
This is, yeah, horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. And so the majority of these victims were, they knew they wouldn't get their day in court. They knew it would disappear into there's no corroborating evidence. You know, after a certain point in his career, he started having a lunch club. And police officers off duty were frequents of his gatherings, which I would imagine would scare the piss out of you if you were a child.
Yeah.
The cops, the heir to the throne, judges, the newspapers are scared to say anything against you, you know? And hello, Allie. I don't know if you heard my hello earlier. Yeah. Yeah, no, this is somebody who should be hated.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a legacy to be hated. Remember to forget Jimmy Savile like Haman. I
was really concerned about what she had told me, because clearly there were women who was continuing to be sexually assaulted, and he had a free rein. She told me that he had his own keys. She told me that he had his own rooms. She told me that he moved freely within the women's unit and around the hospital. She told me that he would come and pick and choose who he wanted. She told him she actually saw him, and so did, he was quite blatant that on one occasion she saw him having sex with a girl, and I believe my recollection is that she said under the stage, so whether there was some kind of, or behind the stage or something.
Goodness. Potentially more than 500 victims.
That they
yeah.
had. So women were continuing to be sexually assaulted, and from what she was saying, my impression was that in order for that to be happening in that way, you know, the obvious conclusion is that people must have been aware.
They alluded to it being an open secret early on in just the cliff notes of the listing of his career.
Sure.
You know, so yes, people had to have known.
I think they definitely knew. And I always find myself in situations like this being like, why would they not say anything? Mm-hmm. Well, whenever you essentially groom and gaslight an entire, not just generation, but generations of people, you make it easy for them to turn a blind eye.
Yes.
You know, you're good to them, you're really good to them. So,
you said
let's
it,
protect.
You said it really well earlier, Bill Cosby.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill Cosby. He's just trying to sell us pudding pops. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Not Dr. Huxtable.
Yeah, no.
You know, and it very much, yeah. Absolutely what you're saying.
When you went and told someone in authority, presumably, who was it that you told, and what was the response to you?
I told the charge nurse where I was working. But again, the culture was very different then. For example, we had a social club in the hospital grounds, and I used to go to the canteen at lunch. My charge nurse and many of the particularly male staff would go to the social club, and I saw them on the rare occasions I did go there. I would see them drinking 8 pints. I know beer was lower alcohol then, but it was still a good 8 pints that a lot of them used to drink, and come back drunk, clearly very laissez-faire, but sort of actually they were pissed, back to the ward. So as a woman, you know, and I think many of the women there did a lot of the legwork, and we weren't valued for our opinions, we weren't encouraged. I didn't feel I was encouraged for my opinions at all.
So when you said to the charge nurse, look, I've heard this about Jimmy
I said,
Savile
well,
and his
yeah.
behaviour at Broadmoor, what did they say to you? What did this charge nurse say to you?
He was, thought I was crazy. You know, I can't remember the exact words. I just know that he didn't take any notice. I was an irritation. I brought it up on several occasions.
See, treated like a pest. Immediately made to feel lesser than or in the way for voicing the situation. And treating it as if, like, you know, hey, the printer's out of toner, but you've already been told that 10 times. This isn't toner. This is abuse in a hospital. And it's just, it's so horrible. Alley Cat says they must not have a conscience. How the F else? Are you kidding? This is the ultimate depraved con. And it's, you know, he would do things publicly to make it seem like he very much had a conscience. He raised over 40 million pounds for different charities.
Yeah, I think she's talking specifically about people that knew what he was doing.
The people that knew. See, and
Yeah.
I think they thought it would bury with him, or, well, that's just Jim. At least he's doing all of this, or it's the same thing. You know, he'd bolstered this. I'm the charity guy. I'm Saint Jim.
Right, and we also have to remember that humans in general tend to be, I don't want to say selfish, because that's not the word I'm, self-fulfilling maybe? And so when somebody does something for you, you tend to favor them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is. I don't necessarily think it's that they don't have a conscience. I'm sure they knew that it was fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's also this, like, well, I don't want to lose, you know, everything that greedy. Sure, yeah, we can go with greedy. I don't want to lose this thing that he's doing for me and mine. You know?
Yes, absolutely. Oh, Allie, you don't have to worry. Hey, come in negative with this one. You can talk smack on Savile. Tell me.
Come on in, sis.
Tell me how gross he looks. Tell us how nasty he was. Again, this is a celebration of we hate Savile. You know, this is a celebration of hate for the man. He was horrible, and justice couldn't be done. Nobody told the story until he died.
Oh, yeah, okay. Savile and
Yeah.
See, I went too big. Sorry.
But for real, he made it seem like he had a conscience, very much so.
Yeah.
You know, made it seem like he cared about everybody, particularly children.
He was playing a character, just like Bill Cosby played a character, you know, and it won over the hearts of so many. Like I said, grooming and gaslighting entire generations and nations of people.
Yeah. Yeah. You're talking about one of the most massive television viewerships at one point with Top of the Pops, you know, next to anybody from, even by U.S. standards. It's like, this is, he was massive for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, hung out with Elvis, the Beatles. This is somebody who, if you're a kid, you know.
He's a rock star. He's a hero, you know.
Yeah. And he would use a particular phrase, don't grass on me. GRASS, don't grass. You know, kind of some British slang that gangsters use. Don't tell on me. Don't snitch. No snitching.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And when he would be asked about romantic things, he would say, well, I don't grass Mr. No Grass over here, you know. And it's, again, this attaching a almost Godfather, Italian mob, like British gangster, Cockney vibe to very successful, you know, young adult to children presenter, TV and radio presenter.
Yeah.
So strange. Such a strange pairing of vibes.
I was obsessed with it.
And in the end speaks volumes as to his character and his MO.
Yeah.
Actually, I was completely obsessed with it. It bothered me tremendously. And it bothered me tremendously that he wasn't taking it seriously.
So did you try and go to someone else?
Yeah, I went to the rank above him, which was the nursing officer for the area that our unit was in. And
so we're not talking about Broadmoor here, of course. We're talking about another hospital.
That's right.
So they could perhaps justifiably say, well, this isn't our area, that's Broadmoor, this is us, it's not our responsibility to do anything about it.
I don't think there's ever a justification in life if you know that people are being inhumanely treated and criminally treated. If you hear of that, I don't think it's right in any era to say that's okay because it's happening somewhere else. You know, otherwise we're back to kind of the Holocaust, really.
What era are we talking about here?
Well, at the earliest, I'd say 78, and at the outset, 82, 83, between those years. And I can't be more specific than that, but I know that it was between those years.
So as far as you know, despite your best attempts, nothing was done?
I know nothing was done, and at times...
exactly, Erica. See something, say
before,
something. She genuinely tried
you know, in the
to.
last few days
She's
that,
claiming she
and
genuinely
when I've
tried.
been
I
asked
believe her.
right at the very beginning, when I first disclosed what had happened a couple of years ago, that, you know, the police did come on several occasions. I know that a staff member has denied that, but I can tell you absolutely that the police did come on, you know, at least 2 or 3 occasions to the unit because the Broadmoor patients had been transferred there. I mean, obviously there were people who had committed very serious offences, and who had been incarcerated for many, many years in Broadmoor.
Hushed up or told there was no evidence or their testimony wasn't good enough or corroborating stories weren't good enough.
Sections
so
from
weird.
the courts who were then
So
transferred to our hospital. So, you know, that required, you know, a court intervention and new legal powers under the old Mental Health Act. Can't remember the exact section, but it was a section 60 something. And, you know, the police did come to the unit and they would sit in the office, you know, with being pally with the staff, the male staff, and then I did actually go in once, and I just, you know, more than once actually, and I did speak about it.
So you told staff there and you told the police.
Oh yeah,
and nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean the police
and staff. You know, it's one thing for the police to do nothing, but for the staff to not buddy up and then maybe gather evidence and then bring it to the police. You know, having no help from the people who are supposed to be your second family, the staff you work with, your workplace family, man.
This was the hospital that he was at. It was a mental hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a time when mental hospitals were super stigmatized, and so even the staff looked at people with mental issues and went, nobody cares.
Yeah. And even if you were, you know, and also a bit of the sexism, if you were a young female, I saw him pinching on butts.
Yeah. So while I agree that it would be really hard to hush 500 people, if the majority of those 500 people are in a mental institution, people are going to look at them and just go, they're crazy. Who cares? You know?
Yeah. Lock it away. They've already got him locked away. You know, it's he's specifically choosing people on the fringes.
Yeah, he's choosing people that people are going to look at and be like, oh, nobody's ever going to believe you.
Yeah, which, you know, in retrospect is a red flag of predacious behavior, but not until compounded with everything else we know after he died. But they should have known. They should have known.
On the surface, it's a beautiful thing, you know? Yeah. On the surface, it's, oh, look at this guy doing these great things, and he's really got compassion for people who are unfortunate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But once you look at it underneath, it's fucking gross.
Disgusting.
Just reacted as though, well, I mean, I just remember the clip in my head, the picture in my head is, you know, one of the police officers looking towards, you know, my managers, and as if to say, you know, control your woman. It's just
and
that attitude of get your lady under control, you know, that concept of female hysteria was still very much alive in the eras in which he was
Exactly.
operating. Yeah.
Yeah, Erica, you're right. Women and the mentally ill were not valued.
Yeah.
And still kind of aren't.
Yeah. It's incredibly unfortunate. And if you think anybody with a history of mental illness cannot be an absolute saint, look into Princess Anne, Prince Philip's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me you can't be saintly and having, and conquer that mental illness and be, you are something.
It's felt
It doesn't
all the way
define you.
along that there was it was because it's a male-dominated area that the men weren't taking you seriously. It was because you didn't have the authority.
I think at that time, what I realised was that if I had continued to bring it up, the only thing I would have achieved would have been getting disciplined, getting sacked, and I wouldn't have actually achieved anything for the patients because I knew that everything was weighted against me. In those days, things were weighted against you. I have worked for many years in psychiatry, in many different places, and I worked as a mental health advocate. And I think one of the crucial factors in this whole business that still exists and still needs to be addressed is that there has always been a problem with a them and us situation between staff and patients. Despite the fact that we know what the statistics are, it's still the case.
Exactly.
I don't think many advocates or groups like Mind, patients' councils, patients' forums have been asked much about their commentary on what has happened with Jimmy Savile, and that to me speaks massively
Debbie is
for what the
she's
crux
right there.
of the problem really is.
Most likely was, in my
Just
opinion.
Finally, today,
The Yorkshire Ripper, Jimmy Savile is a suspect as having been the Yorkshire Ripper. He was he was friends with Sutcliffe, who was convicted as the Ripper, but claims he didn't kill all of those women, and police made him confess to all of them. And why would the police working in favor of Savile? Maybe they knew, or he told them that, hey, it was Sutcliffe. You need to make sure that it was Sutcliffe that confesses to all of them. Savile, it would definitely fit within his MO. Who knows what he was doing? He was abusing people who were, again, on the fringes and living places with, was it Broadmoor? One of them had an actual crematorium.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he was committing his crimes in a place with a crematorium. Working as a porter with access to these people at their most vulnerable moments.
God.
Yeah. So who knows how many people aren't around to have said anything, that disappeared. It very well could be that, in my opinion. I mean, again, when you have crime on an industrial scale, if there would ever be a candidate for somebody who escalated, it would be him. I mean, look, the likelihood of him de-escalating is unlikely.
Yeah.
Getting away with it for so long.
Who knows how many people he sent down to a crematorium?
I mean,
that had no family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because families abandoned you a lot if you had some sort of mental issue.
Yes. People with no one around to even check or care, and who would know that? He would know that.
Ugh.
He'd have access to your file and see there's nobody to call.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah, you're a ward of the system.
I'm with Erica, my mouth fell open.
Yeah. It's, again, that's my personal speculation. I hold firm to it that it's a possibility, and I think that there's ashes that he's responsible for it.
See these reports. Yeah. Do you feel at all vindicated, or you don't want to have
massive relief? I feel really happy,
Throw the mic
really
around some more.
pleased. I know it's a personal commentary, but I've been treated for cancer in the last year, and having that kind of diagnosis kind of strips away all the peripheral stuff, and I am so glad that whatever happens, that this is finally something that I've been able to.
Relief that she's been able to get it off her chest. Look at it. I mean, this is genuine. There's substance to these stories.
Say, this is what happened, and people are listening. It's wonderful, bloody wonderful. I just hope that the entire truth comes out. I think, you know, time will tell, and my gut feeling and everything about this smacks of, you know, there's a hell of a lot of either covering up or total blindness. It's like the emperor with no
clothes. It genuinely is. The veil's lifted on Savile at this point.
Her hair dyed the same color and everything.
This is Jimmy Savile's niece and the niece's partner. They're here. They're going to discuss the rumors. This is from June of 2012.
Gals and gals, here we go. We're going to talk about Jimmy. Jimmy, I knew Jimmy. He was, what can you say about Jimmy?
Legend.
Did you ever meet Jimmy?
I'd never met Jimmy.
Well, you would remember if you met Jimmy. A national icon, institution.
This guy remembers him.
His bling, his cigars, and then, of course, there was Jim Will Fix It.
Love that.
Welcome indeed to Top of the Pops. We've got 7 new tunes for you tonight, starting with Bucks Fizz.
He was one of the first and last presenters of Top of the Pops.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome indeed to Jim Will Fix It.
Again, I chose this clip in particular because it seemed like the original presenter that was talking here was in, he's still in awe of Savile.
Made thousands of kids' dreams come true on his legendary TV show, Jim Will Fix It.
Dear Jim, please can you fix it for me to drive a 125 high-speed train? I am 6, Robert Fairy.
And raised more money for charity than any one person in British history. Sir Jimmy Savile was a national treasure. But sadly, last year...
Pause a little bit, they're using occasional, potentially copyrighted. But that was the Jim Will Fix It theme, had a theme song, was a show. You write, like Debbie said, you want to see Duran Duran? You write Jim, hey, will you fix it for me to meet Duran Duran? And it might happen. He might make it happen.
Aged 84, Sir Jimmy passed away. That was a sad day for many, but during his lifetime and since his death,
this is early days, and the rumors are going around, and I think people were booking segments for their morning shows where they were maybe going to praise the man.
There have been rumours surrounding his sexuality, a secret love child, that have all come to light, tarnishing his memories. So what is the truth? Well, joining us now to set the record straight for the family is Jimmy's niece, that's Amanda McKenna, and his long-term girlfriend, Sue Hims. And it's lovely to see you both. Very difficult for you both, I know, watching that. I noticed you blew him a kiss.
Yes.
And do you feel that closeness to him still when you see him like that?
It's almost...
In fact, it's really been difficult to really realise that he has passed away. And on Monday, when the book was launched, for me, that was when it really hit home that he's not here any longer.
And you talk about the book there, Amanda, because there's so many stories, so many newspaper stories in particular, and the book is called about, naturally enough, As About That Then. And is this the authorised biography that we're talking about here? You are happy with what's inside here?
Yes,
right.
We're very happy. We're very happy with what Alison Bellamy's done. We think it's a wonderful book.
And how much did you take part in creating this book?
Yeah, so again, they're trying to do positive press and sell a book out Savile's life.
Have you given her a lot of information?
Yes, I mean, obviously we're given a lot of information about, obviously, the day he passed away, family information, myself and my cousin
But I wanted to show the wall that these victims were facing.
Put Alison, as much
even
as
after his
death.
Right people.
Well, let's find out the rights and wrongs, the truths and the untruths about this. Sue, with you, how long were you and Sir Jimmy together?
I met him in '69 and we kind of went out, but in those days he was in Top of the Pops all the time, he was away a lot, so we just went out a few times between 69 and 70, something like that. Then we met up, I got married, all that sort of stuff, then we met up again in '93 and more or less stayed together then right through to him.
Were you, let me ask you, and the reason why question marks come up about...
long-term girlfriend, you know, the Netflix
Their hair color.
the Netflix documentary and most things that you see other than this program you guys are currently watching refuse to acknowledge that he ever had an on the books partner. There's refuses to have any, but this is public domain. She went on morning news and gave this to the public and claimed this. And there she is with Jimmy Savile's.
Because she. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. But there she is with Jimmy Savile's niece confirming it. So she was indeed a girlfriend presence in his life, and I think maybe she must have known something. But I haven't seen this in its entirety. I want to see how their body language is when confronted with the rumors head on if he goes there.
Yeah.
No.
Jimmy and who he was. Was he a ladies' man? Was he gay? Was he bisexual? Was that because you were a bit of a secret?
Immediate gasp and have to think.
Well, Jim liked the way Jim got publicity was to be a mystery. It was the way his image, that's the way he branded himself, really. So the more of a mystery he made his life out to be, the more publicity.
Oh, hopefully the YouTube are we still up on YouTube? Hopefully so.
I don't know.
Hopefully so.
Gotten the more people
Looks like
talked
it.
about him.
Did
It
that
was
not upset you? Did you think, well, I'm kind of, because a lot of people thought he was a confirmed bachelor, but did you not get upset
at
thinking,
all.
but I am his girlfriend?
I knew it. And also, I had my own life as well. I had a good social life. I had my daughter, my family. I had a career, full-time, busy career. So in that sense, if I'd been married to him, maybe, I think he'd have been a bit obsessed about that. A bit upset about a lot of things.
So they didn't actually spend a lot of time together, it would appear. She had her own thing, her own life. We know she had her own housing because he didn't live at any place with a kitchen. It's another fun fact here, Anthony. He didn't live at any place with a kitchen. No full kitchen. Kitchen means women. Kitchen means settled down. Kitchen means children, and he's not for that.
Oh, okay.
He had several crash pads. He would just.
Now, do you think that they actually had a meaningful relationship, or do you think that she's only here because she was in the book and she wants some royalties?
I think she was in the book, and I think maybe she's a paid-off presence. I don't think he had any.
Yeah. To kind of clean up an image.
Yeah, maybe they did stuff, but I don't even see them sharing a bed in their old age. I don't see it.
No,
And she's certainly not come forward telling any stories or defending him after this.
Yeah, I just kind of wonder if she wasn't brought on just to clean up an image, because I know after he died, people were like, he was gay, he was blah, 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 and we apparently still live in an era in 2012 where, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So to sell this book, maybe she was brought in just to, be a fill-in.
Yeah, see, that's kind of my theory is, Liberace had I forget who it was, a famous woman that he said that he was married to or whatever, but it was a cover. It was a beard, if you will. I'm not in any way equating over 500 victims and being a sexual predator to being homosexual in any way, but
No, absolutely
I'm
not.
just saying, like, having a partner that's the reason they're there is to be your cover. It seems like
I think in this situation, exactly.
Yeah, I think you're. I think
Look at their
But,
hair.
we've all read things that people are saying about him. What angers you the most? What you hear, and what would you like to nail as completely untrue?
All of it. There's absolutely nothing there. People make those stories up because there's no information being
I saw a report on Newsnight
given.
one night about him, and an investigation there. There were always question marks.
She immediately seemed more nervous when it was brought up.
Yeah.
Like, again, from the grave, I think maybe part of her being that, like, that photo of him looking ancient. I think maybe he wanted somebody around after he kicked it to defend him. And I don't think she played ball after this interview. I don't think she played ball ever again after this interview. They just straight up say he didn't have any. He had no on the books girlfriends. Is what is said now.
Weird.
It's you can the Netflix documentary. It's a 2-parter. You will find no mention of a girlfriend.
No, the Newsnight thing never went ahead.
Yeah. So, what would you like to say about him?
What in that respect regarding Newsnight? Oh, I just think it's all absolute rubbish, and unfortunately, I think in this country nobody's allowed to be that good, kind.
This was about
that
him
lovely.
talking about him sleeping with underage.
Yeah, absolute rubbish. Yeah.
Similar things that were said in defense of Cosby. Oh, so nobody's allowed to just be, you know, a stand-up person. Nobody's allowed to
Right.
be an icon in their field. And it's like, that's not, no, people definitely are allowed to be an icon in their field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with stripping him of majesty. He's actually guilty of some crimes.
Right. I always find that defense really strange because I'm like,
Yes.
Steve Irwin, Bob Ross, and Mr. Rogers. What do you mean people aren't allowed to be wholesome and great?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, Steve Irwin and Bob Ross, very good examples. They should be sainted. This
Yeah.
point. Let's start a religion just to saint those two.
Fuck yeah.
Like I say, it's if somebody's that good and that kind and single, then there's got to be something behind it.
Didn't
and
he
it
once
just
say
isn't.
the biggest secret about me? Everyone's looking for this big
There's
secret.
no secret.
Yeah, the biggest
There was
secret
no
is there
secret.
isn't one.
Louis Theroux knocked on his door and made that amazing programme about
Yes.
him. And I think Louis was a bit disappointed that there wasn't much of a secret.
No.
That gave an insight into his life there as all. Now, what is the situation also I've read about the will or his estate and the emergence of someone claiming to be his love child? Is the estate being contested?
Well, a claim has been made on the estate.
Love Child came out. As far as I know, there is no Love Child. If it is, the name is closed. You
Yeah,
know?
I can't seem to find anything about it.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think that now that's for public. So again, you have somebody who does genuinely. The law has to deal with things that are genuinely cuckoo around this
Yeah.
guy all the time, including his own behavior, benign but cuckoo. But this when you do have something factual and real, and you have corroborating evidence.
Mhm.
What do you know? The infrastructure is now against you. He's gamed. It's like he found a cheat code through this what he called the magic of odd
Mhm.
to groom a nation and its infrastructure and its royal family.
But
Why is it not his children that are on this news station talking about him? Do they ever come out and speak about him?
Savile?
Why is it his niece? Yeah.
It says he doesn't have children. I've always heard he didn't have children.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, he didn't have kids. There was one suspected love child.
Oh, that's right.
And he came
That's
from
what I was
a
thinking.
family of 7, but no children, no wife, no girlfriend, no.
A family of 7 and not a brother and sister on the show.
No, oh yeah, well, none of
A
that.
niece and a suspected girlfriend who dyed their hair to look like his.
Yeah, and he's also the youngest of
Bleached.
7 and born in 1926, so his siblings aren't around by the time this is
Oh,
filmed.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he was the youngest, right, as I understand it, like there were siblings that were grown by the time he was born. So
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
yeah. So no, genuinely the only family left. He liked it that way. He didn't want any of his real personal life out there. He wanted to be the person
Yeah.
controlling that narrative. You heard those stories from him.
Actual confirmation as to whether the lady in question is his daughter is still with the executors because the DNA is not being confirmed yet.
Do you believe she might be his daughter?
To be honest, I've not got a clue actually. I really don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see what the DNA says.
But are
in
you
between
upset
time
that she's come out now, not just come out to say
Spoilers,
that she's
she
possibly
wasn't.
his daughter, but that she's trying to make a claim
Ah.
to the state. How do you feel about that?
When I first found out about her in the newspapers, which isn't a great way to find out, but initially I thought, I've got 31 cousins anyway, we were an enormous family. I thought, well, great, that's another cousin,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
fabulous that there's a Uncle Jimmy's got a child. And before I'd got any opportunity to make contact with her, the next minute there was legal letters coming through, and then that she was contesting his estate, which I do have very strong feelings about that, obviously, because that money's all earmarked for charity.
And it's a big
It's
estate,
all
£3
meant
million.
But
isn't it?
are you not provided for, Sue, in that will?
Not provided for.
Oh yeah,
now, within
Savile's
the will,
brother
but not
believes
in
the
that
stories.
sense.
And does
That's
that-
true. I think he does have
You were
a
the
brother that
woman in his
survived
life.
him.
No,
Yeah.
truly
Oh,
never thought
okay.
anything. I'm surprised anybody got anything, quite honestly, because he wanted everything to go to charity. He never spent a penny on himself, apart from his cars.
Okay,
He
yeah.
liked his cars. But he wanted everything to go to charity. We were all surprised to get
Very
anything at
surprised.
all.
Very
yeah,
surprised.
totally. And I agree with that, because Jim used to say, as long as you've got 2 arms, 2 legs and a brain, you're not the needy ones. Spinal injury is needy. you know, the hospitals are needy, and so now I think it's great.
Where do you think that came from, Amanda, this
My
desire
grandma.
to give back?
My grandma, definitely. For example, there's £1 from each book going to 2.
According to Savile's own account, his mother beat him and was rather cold. When she
That's what I read.
when she passed away, he sat in state with the body for a week and describes it as the happiest time of his life because she was all his. All of her attention was his. She was just laying there peacefully. And he tries to say, you know, this isn't in a morbid sense, but it was the happiest time of my life. And
That gave me chills.
it's wrong. Yeah, there's something going on there. There's something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 charities that we've picked, and one is the Little Sisters of the Poor in Leeds, and the association with.
Now, while we're rounding down, we have from various different documentaries. This is, you know, Debbie mentioned Rolf Harris. Rolf Harris was busted and found guilty, I believe, in a lifetime of crimes against children. And we have Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile joke about their friendship. This is from the Telegraph, 2014.
Grab that position about there. That's good. That's good.
Rolf, I know that the Australians aren't affected by hierarchy and things like that, but I did notice that you kissed Sir Jim's ring when he came in. Is this an exception for you?
It was somewhere for the bishop.
Yeah, I mean, we go back a long time. What was it? Several weeks ago, wasn't it, when we first met?
Several weeks, yeah.
You've been playing your records a long time, though.
Well, you played a couple of them over the years in the 60s.
1,000 times have I played.
Yeah.
Don't Be Cruel, Blue Suede Shoes.
Yes.
All those things with this young man.
Okay. Fantastic, lovely, good night. Okay.
Creepy.
1, 2, 3.
Get locked back here and do an over their shoulder.
People obsessed with image. Let's see.
As it happens, you know,
Bill Oldie from Tab. This is a direct quote from him from this video. I just wanted to pull the source up as we cited. Everyone knew about Jimmy Savile at the BBC.
you know, fairly relevant to.
But the audio quality is
that.
rough. Rough. It's a 2012 cell phone outside.
Honestly, that apparently is what Jimmy Savile and his brother get up to in their spare time.
I have here a compilation of people making tongue-in-cheek jokes about Jimmy Savile being a degenerate on TV before he died.
Unbelievable. It's true. My sister's friend's brother works with someone who once met him. So
and I'm just hearing in my ear that some viewers may have lost transmission for about a minute and a half during that. So we'll try and sort that out for next week.
Sorry about that.
Have we got any letters at all? Yeah, Louise Carpenter from Shrewsbury says, Dear Frank and David, my 8-year-old daughter loved the Jimmy Savile World Cup comment slot that you did at the beginning of the series. She keeps asking, what has happened to it? Will it be back? 8-year-old girls love Jimmy Savile, though, don't they? And of course...
I don't know if anybody heard that. Young girls love Jimmy Savile, don't they? Crowd laughs. Again, these are just some examples of the public zeitgeist at the time around it while he was still alive.
We were nearing the end of our time together, and as we headed back to Leeds, it was clear that Jimmy had the
Thoreau.
press coverage of his broken ankle. But it struck me that his relationship with the press hasn't always been a happy one. So why do you say in interviews that you hate children when I've seen you with kids and you clearly enjoy their company and you have a good rapport with them?
We have some pitched audio because, you know, the YouTube algorithm, guys.
Right. Obviously, I don't hate them. That's number one. So why would you say that then? Because we live in a very funny world. And it's easy for me as a single man to say, I don't like children. Because that puts a lot of salacious tabloid people off the hunt.
Off the hunt. Specifically viewing himself as prey. You know, his worldview. His worldview comes into shape as he talks about his life. Let's see if we can get to.
Jesus was quite a ladies' man, though you are, or have said you were.
No. He used to knock about with the ladies. It says so in the book. He went in the hooky house. He was talking to them in the hooky house.
Jesus Was a ladies' man, apparently. Justification for him being a ladies' man. He had theological things behind why he did what he did. I think a lot of his charity work and a lot of his subtle slips of the tongue was his form of confession. He's a Catholic. He was raised Catholic. I think he genuinely thought he was going to get into heaven when he died. You know, I genuinely think he thought that, and I don't think it's a lie. I think that was his belief system.
Yeah. He's very sure of himself.
Yeah, I don't believe in hell, but I do hope the universe has managed to make a fiery pocket to stash his consciousness.
Yeah.
I really do. If there is a hell, I hope he's in it.
Mhm.
And forever in pain. He genuinely seemed like a horrible person.
Yeah.
And these allegations, again, this is probably the most Channel 4 stuff I've played in a row, not been pulled off of YouTube. I don't, it's known. They're not trying to hide it at this point. People need to know. And if you are associating with somebody who has a red flag, think about it. Look at it. Look at them. Watch them. Incredibly drunk person told me one time, investigate your associates.
I mean,
And no truer words have been spoken.
not wrong.
No truer words have been spoken. The truth.
If you feel like there's red flags, there's a reason. Trust it. Trust your gut. Trust your conscience.
I'm glad he's not around to abuse people anymore.
Fuck yeah.
If I could plug a few things, you can just, in YouTube, the platform you are probably on right now watching this, type in Jimmy Savile documentary and watch a documentary with some budget to it and share the stream. If you weren't aware of this person before this video, I'm sorry I had to break that news to you.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry we had to talk about a guy who, had decades to abuse people in infrastructure that was working for him, and no justice delivered until after he was dead. And so all we get to see is them take a tombstone down.
Yeah.
Ugh. But be sure to like, share, and
Gross.
subscribe, guys. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Next Tuesday, we'll be doing another True Crime and Chat. I'm going to try to do them on Tuesdays. It might be around Tuesday. We're going to do another one next week. It's going to be John Wayne Gacy.
Hey.
We're going to do John Wayne Gacy. So I'm going to try to do the same thing we're doing here. I talk about it. I talk about John Wayne Gacy and his life for the first chunk of the show, and then we'll watch some archival news footage, the best we can at the end, and discuss one of the worst predators in American history. We'll hop across the pond next week. Thank you so much, Arianthe. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Allie.
Of course.
Erica. I got all my regulars in here with me.
Yeah.
I wish there was an easy way to bring brevity at the end of the show and kind of leave on a light note.
He died.
But be sure to check out the sponsor links, guys. From snacks for your dogs for a new battery for your phone, I probably have a coupon for you. So check it out. Check it out. Link in description. Join the Discord. Become part of the conversation. Buy some merch if you have a PayPal. All of this helps support the channel. Listen to my music on Spotify. All of it helps keep us going.
Watch the damn Johnny Depp trial and talk to me throughout the day so I don't lose it. Thank you, Tripper.
Hey, yeah. Live, you can live tweet at Arianthe your Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thoughts.
Please do, so I don't lose my shit.
Yeah, we need to. I'm gonna start just compiling the juicy moments so we can do some reacts and.
Oh, I've got so many. Do you want a list?
Break down as some friends. Yeah, we'll go there. We're gonna do a whole. We got this. It's gonna be exciting. We're gonna roll out a whole after this trial's over. We're gonna roll out a whole damn series.
Closing arguments are next Friday.
Goodness. Well, it was great to see everybody today, or hear from everybody, or see your words, and I love you all to death. Everybody be excellent to each other. I'm gonna hop out of Discord, Arianthe.
Sounds good.
And
Bye.
goodbye, everybody. And again, like, share, and subscribe. Buy a t-shirt. Do the thing. Do all the things. Just, definitely be nice to other people.